Ladies and gentlemen, this day would not be meaningful enough if we fail to follow up, and so we must do that. And nothing happens without good people insistently pushing for progress. And one good example is Mark Wilson, the Florida's Chamber President and CEO, a man who works with purposeful energy and vision to give the Florida of 2030 and before and after a front row seat in global competition. And no one should make any mistake about it. Our mission this noontime speaks directly to workforce development and the future for children and for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Wilson.
That way there's more room up here. I appreciate that. Dave, Florence, thank you so very much for having the vision to do this. Carol, thank you for making this possible. Dr. Levitt, thank you so much as well. Dominic, Susan, the Tax Watch Council of 100, thanks for being part of this. We had several phone calls to plan for today, but more importantly to plan for what happens next. And Governor, most importantly, I want to thank you for your vision, for you to be here today. I think I speak for all of us. It speaks volumes that the governor of our great state would rearrange the schedule to be here today, to show your commitment to education, to our workforce, to early childhood education. It's interesting that when Dave was introducing you, he talked about your first book being the Bible, and what immediately comes to mind is Proverbs 29:18, where there's no vision, the people perish. And I think what Dr. Levitt shared with us today is we have to look 20 to 30 years down the road. And when you think about what we're trying to do here collectively, no matter what our politics are, if you think about this is a picture of we're putting the long term before the short term. And we're making a decision to put the policy ahead of the politics. And if that's all we do, then our kids are going to win and our state's going to be much more competitive. So thank you for being here, and thanks for being part of this. I want to say this. So elections come along every 2 years, and so we tend to get caught into short-term fights over this or over that. And I just want to give voice to the reason that the Florida Chamber Foundation wants to make this a priority, and the reason we want to create a Business Leaders Alliance with anyone who wants to participate with us, and I know the Council and Tax Watch are going to work with us together on that. The reason is because the business community needs to not only be at the table, but our future workforce is what we're talking about here. And if you think about it this way, Dave talked about 2030. So we'll have another 6 million people who will call Florida home by the year 2030. And if you think of today's 6-year-olds, for example, they'll be entering the workforce right around 2030, give or take a couple of years. And so what happens is we get caught in these short-term conversations, and we never get around to making this a priority. And I want to ask for your help in a couple of ways. Number one, I hope it's more than a little obvious to everybody why the business community cares so deeply about early childhood. You've seen us for years talk about K-12, talk about higher ed, and talk about the workforce system. And what I hope everyone would leave here today is a recognition that the closing the talent gap conversation means that whether it's birth or whether you're 85 and still learning, it's one lifelong continuum of learning. And these kids are our future workforce. And I agree, Governor, that it's all about a job. Families and kids need jobs, and that's why we're doing this. So what I'd like to leave you with is at your place setting, there's a call to action, so to speak. Dave Lawrence, I know, is going to close us out, but Dave mentioned we don't want to leave here today and have you wonder 6 months from now what happened. We're actually creating a Business Leaders Alliance, and we'll be announcing that in more detail at our May Education Summit that our foundation will be hosting. But there's 3 ways for you to be involved. If you simply want to be on the mailing list and receive newsletters about what's going on, check that box. If you'd like us to put you in touch with an early learning effort in your region, then check that box. If you're interested in actually being part of this task force, part of this Early Learning Alliance, business leaders, make sure you check that box as well. But more importantly, as we go through Children's Week and we all go back home, I hope you'll remember one thing from today, and that is, again, no matter what your politics, no matter what part of Florida you're from, we're all in this together, and we're either going to win together or we're going to lose together. And I think when we put 2030 ahead of 2014, these issues start to surface, and it becomes very clear that we need to put our differences aside and focus on the kids first and the adults last. So thanks for letting the Florida Chamber be part of this today. Dave, thank you.